Why doesn't Voldemort make his followers make an unbreakable vow to stay loyal to him? To add one more factor, Voldemort thinks he is such a skilled legilimens that none of the Death Eaters are capable of successfully lying to him. 1. We do see Voldemort use magic to force Death Eaters into subservience. Look at Wormtail. When he shows mercy to Harry, his hand kills him. It's not entirely clear how the Dark Mark works, but I suspect there is some degree of protection there. 2. We only see one unbreakable vow, but my guess is that this might be too vague to work. That's my guess. 3. Overall, there are 3 known Death Eater traitors: Snape, Karkaroff, and Regulus Black. Voldemort would have had to be pretty specific on the vow. I think you can explain this away by saying unbreakable vows can only be made for specific tasks and not general loyalty.
Ego.
Voldemort likes to think that he got his followers and are loyal to him because either they admire him or fear him. Having them do the unbreakable vow is embarrassing. It's like suggesting that they were forced to be there. Unbreakable vows his style. He loves drama too much. Betrayal keeps things spicy. I wish the spell had a condition that both parties have to offer something, in which case it would explain why Voldemort wouldn't want to risk it. I think the real answer, though, in universe is that he feels legitimacy renders it redundant, and he does express irritation that some of how followers pretended to be under the imperious curse after he died. I think part of him enjoys the more natural devotion, so he can show off how in control he is. He gets very offended when they don't show unwavering. Generally, in soft magic systems, just assume there is some unknown criteria that is reasonable. Whatever it is doesn't matter. Maybe you can only have one active at a time. Maybe it requires trust. Maybe Riddle doesn't know the spell. Maybe there is some reciprocal obligation. You can't kill someone you make an unbreakable vow with. Maybe. Probably would mess with recruitment. You're probably quite right, Ree. Her coming up with the idea of an unbreakable to fit the storyline. But also, if he did that with everybody, there probably wouldn't be a story. Voldy probably prefers to lord over people and manipulate them with fear rather than actually giving direct orders, or using Imperio. He's playing a chess game that he's destined to lose. Kind of a tangent and unrelated. I always thought unbreakable vows were a weird thing to do bilaterally. One person promises something and dies if they don't follow through. What's the purpose of the other person? It would have been interesting if it required some skin in the game for both sides. He didn't fear betrayal. He believed he was so much more talented and skilled that betrayal would be more of a joke and a chance to flex his skills. Because it's messy and imprecise. It's only unbreakable in the sense that you die if you break it. How do you actually define that loyalty? Are you loyal if you deny being a follower? What happens if you receive an order and you're not sure if it's really from him? What happens if you ask yourself if you would choose your son over Voldemort? Is that theoretical betrayal enough to drop dead? Could you kill Death Eaters that way? It creates more problems than it solves. It makes him look weak, especially compared to Dumbledore. If he is that powerful, why is everyone needing such strong vows? Everything else he can say is convenient, like the marks, and most of his followers are weak in protecting thoughts other than Snape. They're good at dark arts. Even Harry struggled in protecting thoughts. It's like an IRL organization requiring you to sign a bond of servitude for 10 years to join the org. Pretty soon, word spreads and no one joins them. Think of Voldemort's coterie. They are not obedient lapdogs. They are highly ambitious and cutthroat wizards and witches who value their agency and carry a lot of pride about their lineage. If you look at it from Voldy's perspective, early recruitment of such individuals would have been a challenge in itself. If the Ministry of Magic knew this, then they'd be authorized to actually use lethal force. You have an enemy who could never be turned. There are a lot of good reasons here, but I'll throw in my 2 cents. Apologies if I'm repeating what others have said. 1. First, the unbreakable vow that we see in HBP is tied to a specific act on Snape's part. There are 3 things he vows to do, and all are directly tied to Draco's attempt to kill Dumbledore. It is possible, even likely, that the unbreakable vow is always tied to a specific task, rather than a general, will you vow to never betray me kind of thing. If so, it would be imprac. I bet there's some nasty magic in the Dark Mark spell. As we saw with Snape, there are ways around it. Voldemort would need to be extra careful in his wording and remain extremely paranoid. It's less fuss to simply entice, threaten, or reward as necessary. It also establishes greater overall loyalty. He might get several Death Eaters to make the vow, but I suspect others would get cold feet. Lucius, as an example, was not supremely loyal. He would probably avoid the vow. Regulus, as he was shown, also would avoid it. And that's assuming the vow. I suspect that would impact recruitment somewhat. I think I echo what others say, but ego, I guess. I feel like he just feels so engrossed in himself that he feels if someone betrays him, he'd rather kill them himself and torture them rather than they just die. It guy could be wrong and could just be a flaw, but it's also one of those things we only heard of once, so maybe there's a loophole she wrote in later we don't know/think about in the lore. Great question, though. I can see no possible negative repercussions for demanding potential recruits agree to die if they so much as question you, even in private. Unbreakable bond feels like it places the two parties on equal footing. Also, taking away the punishment that Riddle gets to impose on his followers when they fail seems like half the fun. Probably because he understood that some of them would have the occasional second thought, and he didn't want to have to get a lawyer to go through the wording of his unbreakable vow so his followers wouldn't drop dead like flies the moment they try to put even the smallest toe out of line. Plus, he's so arrogant he'd probably believe he'd be able to catch anyone lying to him/intimidate them into following him/convince them that he's their best option anyway. Let's say the unbreakable vow is a self-executing magical contract, causing death at the moment of breach. First problem. Define disloyalty in a way that allows your followers to blend in with society, escape capture, be in a bad mood one day, act autonomously, and take initiative when circumstances require, and so on. If you don't foresee and provide for all these circumstances, your followers might die even without actually betraying you in any way. Second problem. The penalty for breach. Because even his followers aren't that stupid. They may fear him. Such level of control would, for all of them, would give them reasons to coup inside the Death Eaters. Not all of them worships him like Bellatrix. Also, he already has the marks as proof of their loyalty to him. Something more dark wizards would accept than an insta-death.